Hello once again, dear viewers. You're watching ERi-TV. Welcome to our news broadcast. Here are the headlines. National Union of Eritrean Women President meeting in Asab. World AIDS Day marked in Asmara. Death toll from flooding in Somalia climbs to nearly 100. Israel resumes Gaza bombing after truce expires. In our domestic news, the president of the National Union of Eritrean Women, Mr. Tesfa Mikhail, held a meeting with women members of the Eastern Command in Asab on November 30. At the meeting, in which the commander of the Eastern Command of the Eritrean Defense Force, Brigadier General Abraham Andom, participated, Mr. Kha gave extensive presentation on the role of women in the national development endeavors, the mission and vision of the National Union of Eritrean Women, and psychological warfare and its impact. Underscoring the significant role and contribution of Eritrean women in the history of the country, Mr. Kha called on the women to consciously and wholeheartedly participate in inheriting, nurturing, and transferring the noble values. In addressing the negative influences of peer pressure, Mr. Kha reminded participants that raising awareness and consciousness is the #1 prerequisite for tackling the issue, and called on them to work to that end and participate in programs organized with that intention. The president of the National Union of Eritrean Women, Mr. Tesfa Mikhail, finally indicated that the union exerts a strong effort in developing the overall capacity of women and called on the participants to exercise individual effort at empowering themselves. The commander of the Eastern Command, Brigadier General Abraham Andom, on his part, underscored the heroic efforts made by Eritrean women in the country's development, in the struggle for national independence, and in defending the national sovereignty, and called on the participants to increase their overall capacity and participation in national matters. World AIDS Day 2023 was observed on December 1 today at national level in Asmara under the theme Global Solidarity, Shared Responsibility. Speaking at the event held in Arota Hospital Hall, Dr. ERi-TV, head of Communicable Diseases Control, stated that encouraging outcome is being registered from the fight against HIV infections and has been erased from the list of deadliest diseases, and that the rate of transferability of the disease from HIV/AIDS patients who take their medicine regularly has decreased to almost 0%. Dr. ERi further indicated that Eritrea is among those African countries that have been able to decrease the rate of new infections in the last 12 years by 70%, and that the number of children born with HIV, which was 40 annually, has declined to 0. The death rate from HIV has decreased by 78%. The number of voluntary annual checkups has significantly increased, and 9,000 nationals with HIV/AIDS are regularly taking antiretroviral drugs. Dr. ERi said that challenges still exist in the effort to end HIV/AIDS infections and called for integrated effort on the part of all stakeholders for a better outcome. The event featured artistic and cultural performances, testimonies, and general knowledge competitions depicting the day, and prizes were awarded to general knowledge competition winners. Seminar of focusing on raising awareness of the public on controlling communicable and non-communicable diseases was conducted in Eritrea subzone from 22 to 24 November. The seminar, organized by the Ministry of Health branch in the subzone in cooperation with partners, Mr. Kohob Tesfai, head of public health in the subzone, said that the seminar that was focused on women's reproduction, liver, blood donation, TB, HIV and AIDS, and other diseases was aimed to develop the understanding of the public on the causes of the diseases and measures that could be taken to control their prevalence. Mr. Kohob also called on the public to strengthen participation in the effort to fully eradicate the prevalence of malaria from the subzone. The head of the health service in the subzone, Mr. Waldab Gabriel Xavier, on his part, said that the objective of the seminar was to raise the awareness of the public on communicable and non-communicable diseases and called for strengthening participation to that effect. In related news, seminar focusing on antibiotic medicines that develop resistance was conducted in Eritrea town. That was our domestic news. Please stay tuned now for the international news right after the short break. The number of people killed by floods from heavy rains in Somalia has climbed to 96, state news agency SONA said on Saturday. Like the rest of the eastern Horn of Africa, Somalia has been battered by relentless heavy rains that began in October, caused by the El Nino and Indian Ocean dipole weather phenomenon. Both are climate patterns that impact ocean surface temperatures and cause above-average rainfall. The flooding has been described as the worst in decades and has displaced about 700,000 people, according to the United Nations. The intense rains have unleashed widespread flooding across the country, triggering displacement and exacerbating an already existing humanitarian crisis caused by years of insurgency. In neighboring Kenya, the floods have so far killed 76 people, according to the Kenyan Red Cross, and also unleashed widespread displacement, destruction of roads and bridges, and left many residents without shelter, drinking, and food supplies, according to the charity Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF. Israeli fighter jets hit targets in the Gaza Strip minutes after a week-long truce expired today, as the war with Hamas resumes in full force. Black smoke billowed from the besieged territory, and Israel dropped leaflets over parts of southern Gaza, urging people to leave their homes, suggesting it was preparing to widen its offensive. In Israel, sirens warnings of incoming rockets blared at several communal farms near Gaza, a sign that militants also restarted attacks, but there were no reports of hits. The renewed hostilities heightened concerns for Palestinians in the tiny coastal enclave, as well as about 140 hostages who remain there, after more than 100 were freed from the truce. Qatar, which has served as a mediator along with Egypt, said negotiations were still trying to reach an agreement on the restarting of the ceasefire. Qatar's foreign ministry signaled out Israel's role in the resumption of fighting and said it complicates mediation efforts and exacerbates the humanitarian catastrophe. A day earlier, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Israeli officials and urged them to do more to protect Palestinian civilians as they seek to destroy Hamas. Blinken arrived today at the COP28 climate talks in Dubai, where he was to meet with Arab foreign ministers and other officials. Please stay tuned now for a recap of tonight's headlines. National Union of Eritrean Women President meets in Assaf. World AIDS Day marked. Death toll from flooding in Somalia climbs to nearly 100. Israel resumes Gaza bombing after truce expires. And that was our news for tonight, dear viewers. It is good night from us.